ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Beer Blather 280. Warp speed ahead. Although Scotty is not anywhere near this time. While the usual chorus of magatards and unemployed Q-tards continue in social media with their low-volt carping about Epstein, their Jew-hating rants and their slobbering for Putin, some for free, others paid, like Tucker Carlson by Qatar, and launched a full front attack against Attorney General Bondi, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, and anyone who dares to use their brains. The Trump administration continues full steam ahead, changing America for the better. From Title IX to the funding Planned Parenthood, clearing the offices of Foggy Bottom of retarded Obamanite hangers on, making peace in the Middle East, Africa, Europe, and Southeast Asia, confronting Lawfare head on and releasing the economic prowess of the U.S. from the shackles of Democrat regulations. And don't get me started on fixing the border, rounding up criminal aliens, and rescuing child slaves the Democrats are quite happy abandoning to their miserable fate. From pot farms in California, 14 minors and 354 illegals in one fell swoop, to the streets of LA, New York, Boston, or Miami, the effects are beginning to flourish, and the defenders of child labor and exploitation are beginning to flounder. Just as President Trump grew tired and impatient with Putin, he has grown tired and impatient with the panicans and grifters trying to make bank on his coattails and spreading hate and distrust like candy in a street parade. This is the time when those who love America and would like to see it free from the shackles of fascism are going to be attacked by the America Last crowd of Carlsons, Bannons, and other such vermin. As Trump continues to move with lightning speed, these idiots will be forgotten like dog turds removed from the sidewalk. Let's review some of the things that happened this week while morons fixated on the man that will not die. This is Saul Montes Bradley, the largest human repository of useless information from my uh, golden cage in Florida. And right here is Thomas Wichter, the only living expert in World War I flamethrowers, from his precarious position in Californication. God, to live under gruesome. Anyway, how are you doing, my friend? And have you been enjoying how gruesome got plastered this week?
Well, Newsom came out and defended child labor at a marijuana plant. And, you can always count on our governor rather, to go out with his foot and do a huge soccer kick that ends up right in his own mouth. It's really astonishing. The last thing that the Democrats needed was seeing angry illegal aliens throwing rocks and making demands. Before this is all over, illegal aliens will have lost all sympathy in the majority of the country. I can't remember if I told you, but the traffic in my city is down 90%. This 4th of July, there wasn't a single house-shaking stadium quality mortar that was fired off, and that crap's been happening for the last 15 years and didn't happen this time around. The fireworks were piddling. They stopped at around 10 o'clock at night. They didn't even wait until midnight. And then on actual July 4th, there was almost nothing. So, and as you pointed out, people are showing maps of freeways in California that have no bumper-to-bumper traffic. It's like
my friend Josh is publishing every morning the Google Map screenshot showing the traffic situation in the LA area. And this, but for an exit or two, it's all green. You can go on I-5, I-10, I-605, take whatever the crap you want, and you're going to be driving like it's 1960.
Yeah. The situation. I first came here as a sentient being in 1967, and things are as close to 1967 as they've been in my lifetime. And you know, um, people are seeing that their quality of life is getting better. You know, the majority of illegal aliens are self-deporting. They're not waiting to be rounded up by ICE, and you know they're trying everything. As you pointed out, Kitzinger said that you know we weren't rounding up any white Russians, and it's like, well, because they make up less than 1% of all illegal aliens in the country. Um, the majority of illegal aliens in this country are from Central and South America, and Mexico, Central and South America, and that's who you're going to see being rounded up. And they're also the ones who are willing to work for slave wages. Um,
Yeah, but listen, Russians, Serbs, Ukrainians have already been rounded up and deported. But you're correct. When you have 1 million Central and Mexicans and Central Americans for every 20,000 Russians, of course the vast majority of the ones you catch are going to come from the largest pool. The guys who are claiming you're racist, they're going after brown people. First of all, they're racist because not every Mexican is brown.
no,
Second thing is you have 1,020,000 illegal immigrants. 1 million come from South and Central America and Mexico, and 20,000 come from Ukraine. Uh, what do you think the relationship between the deported is going to be?
also, Ukrainians aren't out picking lettuce. Ukrainians aren't out with food trucks. Ukrainians do different things, and they're when they're round up, we don't generally see it happen because they're not working out in the open under the sun, lifting and carrying things. I just learned today that this batch of illegals, it's really started under Biden. Illegal Mexicans have always sent money back home, which was, believe it or not, the number one source of income for Mexico. And now they're required to send a certain portion of that to the cartels.
Yep.
In perpetuity.
In perpetuity for not being killed while crossing the border.
Exactly. So the inhumanity that these people suffer coming up into our country and then existing in our country as a slave class, nobody with any sense of morals would defend this, and yet it's being defended by the entire Democratic
establishment, people without a sense of morals.
Yep.
By definition.
And the idea that ICE is the problem is absolutely ridiculous. Try being an illegal alien in Mexico. Well, okay.
Try being an illegal immigrant in Mexico, see what happens.
Well, the Mexicans in Mexico City are marching with signs saying, all you Americans here, learn Spanish, respect our culture, pay your taxes. And it's like...
They do, by the way.
Of course. I mean, you couldn't make this up. This is like, okay, there was a period of a couple weeks where young Hispanic Americans were talking about how all the illegal Mexicans hated living here, and that we were only a giant cash cow for them, and that all Mexican Americans' dreams, that their only dream was to be able to build up, earn enough money to buy a house in Mexico and leave. This isn't true. This isn't true. The majority of illegals who come here end up staying here because they don't have to deal with cartels. They don't have to deal with cops holding them up on the freeway. They don't have to deal with
until Governor Gruesome gives control of pot plantations to the cartels.
Well, also, California is looking into hiring illegal aliens as police officers. What could go wrong?
Yeah.
What could go wrong?
Maybe the son of El Chapo will be sprung out of jail to be made a police commissioner in LA.
Yeah. Okay. You mentioned the pot farms. Pot is technically legal in California, but it has to be taxed. It has to be regulated, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Prior to the legalization of pot, there were pot farms, and some people grew pot. They sold it. They made somewhat of a profit. Once the pot farms were legalized, the cartels came in, and they went to the people running the pot farms, and they put a gun to their head, and they said, you're now working for us. If you stop, we will kill you and your family. If you sell it without our permission, we will kill you and your family. And they posted armed guards who began shooting anybody who they saw walking within the, a lot of these pot farms are they're out in the wilderness. And
yeah.
So
if my memory doesn't play tricks with me, there was a moment that it was a virtual battlefield near Mendocino.
Yes. And so by legalizing marijuana, they created a level of violent crime never seen in the marijuana industry before. So that's the law of unintended consequences. I could have told him this was going to happen.
As a matter of fact, we did. We discussed this like 4 years ago. And we described it in detail, and this is what's going to happen. Never mind the fact that they can still not put the proceeds of their sales into the banking system because it violates federal law. So what you have there is a shit ton of cash that needs to be laundered, and that is being transported by the cartels. And the amount of crime around the entire supply chain of pot in Colorado, in California, it's worse than the 1920s.
Well, okay, see, that's another myth about the mafia. The claim was that after what the hell was it called? Prohibition. After Prohibition came about in 1918, and it was repealed in 1928, so it's 10 years. Yeah. And there was a claim that the American mafia, this was done, the mafia suddenly wasn't making money anymore. No, they were making as much money as they were before, if not more.
They became legal distributors protected by regulation.
Exactly. And the corruption, they would pay off the right person to get the right government stickers. And so the same argument is made about all drugs. You legalize all drugs, you put the cartels out of business. No, they're already in the business. And if you legalize it, then you just make it easier for them to avoid ever being stopped. And what happened was that since Prohibition made hard liquor legal again, the mafia could take its eye on how it was. They could take their eye off of smuggling. They didn't have to smuggle anymore. They were openly able to bring it in, and now they could expand into different fields. They ended up cornering the concrete market in New York City, for example.
Oh, and garbage pickup.
And garbage, exactly. So, it's what leftists like to do is they practice reductionism. They reduce everything down to a bumper sticker slogan, and they say if you legalize this, then it puts that out of business, and it doesn't. It's much more complicated than they're willing to admit, or maybe it's more complicated than they can comprehend.
Or maybe they comprehend it very well, but remember the cartels, in order to maintain their monopolies on the distribution of pot and all the jazz, have to pay Democrat politicians to maintain regulations in place that favor them.
Well, absolutely,
It is a very for the left is a very lucrative proposition to
of
do
course,
this. They might reduce it to a bumper sticker for the hoi polloi, but they know perfectly well where the money is.
well, of course, and
I wonder, by the way, how much money that pot farm put into the coffers of Gruesome.
well, what was I reading about? It was that pot farm. That pot farm where the raid was carried out was in fact a major donor to Newsom.
I didn't know that, but I suspected it would be.
Yeah, and okay, social media was supposed to be the antidote to fake news, and unfortunately, social media is probably even worse than the mainstream media in terms of spreading fake news. You know, the video we saw coming out of that pot farm raid, little children crying as their parents were hauled away. It's like, no, those kids were working on that farm. They were engaged in child slave labor, and
Yeah.
you know, that truth. What's the old story that the lie, by the time the truth gets out of bed and puts on its pants, the lie has already gone around the world?
That was Mark Twain. Uh, for crying out loud, this is who's gonna pick the cotton now.
Well,
That was the Democrats' response to ICE freeing 14 children from child slavery in a
yes,
pot farm. It
yes.
was who's gonna pick our cotton now. Uh, Gruesome went as far as to suggest that thanks to ICE rounding up our agricultural workers, the grocery shelves were going to be empty. Because, as you well know, every grocery shelf in the country is filled with fucking pot.
Well, I don't know what Gruesome is talking about, because the overwhelming majority of produce in my supermarket is shipped in from other parts of the country, and you know
Yeah, they destroyed. The days of California being the Garden of America are long gone.
no. When I used to drive to San Francisco, somewhere about 2/3 of the way up, I would pass this giant cattle farm, and I could smell it long before I could see it. So there was that, and then Gilroy was the garlic center of the world, and I could smell that. And everything else, all those lands from here to San Francisco were entirely barren. Every now and then you would pass some field that had big sprinklers, but not very many. You could pretty much count all the farms you passed between here and San Francisco on the 5 freeway.
Yep.
You could count them on the fingers of one hand, and you know, there'd be big signs out where the farmers were saying, "Stop stealing our water." And it's like, well, then make a deal. You know, I mean, Trump ordered that water be delivered to California, and Newsom refused.
Of course, they don't want that.
The
They don't
only
want that.
rebuilding.
My cousins had, I don't know how many acres of almond trees. They're all dead.
Yeah,
They're all dead. And I asked her, uh, "What are you gonna do? Are you gonna start over?" She says, "No. It takes 25 years to get productive trees. This is it. I'm out of here."
Sure. No, Pacific Palisades, the only rebuilding that's being allowed are the new projects for, the homeless and the food stamp consumers, and I guess they had thought of putting the illegal aliens there, but there won't be any more. So Pacific Palisades is not going to be rebuilt. I think they've issued 6 permits for rebuilding, but that's just the beginning. You have to get
Oh,
permits for
did you see the project now for the low income housing?
yeah,
110
that,
billion.
yeah. I mean, the low income housing is the only thing that's going to be rebuilt and built, since it was never rebuilt. It's not going to be rebuilt, but it's going to be built in Pacific Palisades, so they can get a beautiful view of the sea as they consume their food stamps and have children, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. No, California's done, and it's going to get a lot worse. It's not possible to say if the voters will ever change their minds. I don't think they will, because they're cultists. They call Trump supporters cultists, but Californians are massive cultists. They display all the aspects of cultists, and they will suffer anything as long as it proves that they're not Trump supporters. They'll pay any tax. They'll like where the hell are they going to live? It's shocking, Where are they going to live?
No, it is absurd. But you know, I'm always an optimist, and I always think that people will turn around. In California, it would probably take a century now. They destroyed. The only thing that is surviving so far are the vineyards. Uh, but anytime I expect the fuckers are going to screw it up, like they did with all of the produce farms, like
Hmm?
they did with all of the nuts farms. Anytime now, they're going to dry up the thing, and you're not going to have wine or raisins from California anymore. And if the Californians don't do it, the Chinese will,
Well, we get our
like they
tomatoes
did, like
from
they did with oranges, like they did with oranges in Florida or apples in Pennsylvania.
a different part of the country, and in order to survive the trip here, they have to be picked when
Green.
they're not ripe, and then they're basically sprayed with something that makes them look red when actually they're green.
Yep.
And I've been eating tomatoes like that for years, and one day a neighbor delivered these tomatoes that heirloom tomatoes she'd grown in her garden.
Mm.
I was like, Jesus, what am I eating here? It was like the first time in 20 years.
When you cut them and you get a whiff, you have a different thing
Yeah.
there.
No, I used to go to Burger King, and Burger King would sell the Whopper sandwich, and it has lettuce, tomatoes, onions. None of the vegetables in that thing had any flavor. You had onions, raw onions. It didn't taste like anything. You had these hard slices of tomato that didn't taste like anything, and you had the white part of lettuce. The base of the lettuce. And so, there was no point in getting a Whopper anymore because it had no flavor. They would serve it to you warm. So you would get this warm sandwich that slightly tasted barbecued.
Yeah, who is the fucker in some Burger Kings that puts the entire sandwich in the microwave and give you these cooked lettuce Who does that? Do they do it on purpose?
Well, my brother told me when we came up to Miami for the first time that I remembered, it must have been about 69. It was about 69. And
That
so
was a good year.
I was, I was 7 years old. And we went to this burger joint it was the most delicious food. And my brother told me it was a Burger King. And because he was 2 years older, he remembered.
Yep.
And since that time, I've never eaten a Burger King burger that tasted like that. And, they used to grill it. They'd put the burger patty on this little conveyor belt that would go down this grilling.
With the flames.
With the flames. It was flame grilled. And all the vegetables were fresh. And
I'm telling you now, in '69, you had to be in Miami for Burger King.
yeah.
And the two that I remember were the one in Coral Way and one just off Lejeune, a block from Miracle Mile. And
That's the one. That's the one we went
That's
to.
the one. They exist. They've been refurbished many times over,
Mhm.
but they still exist. Number 1 and number 6.
Mhm.
And it was something else. It was quite an experience. Right now, they're all over the place and they're shit.
Yeah. If I'm on a road trip or something and I there's nothing there and I go to Burger King, I get like a double cheeseburger or something. It's something that has no vegetables on it because there's no. I mean, they have pickles, but the pickles come from a jar, I'm sure, or a vat, a gallon jug. But California is still trying to coast on its reputation, and it's finally run out. They used to say people would always come here because of the weather. That's not true. We've got a third of the country's homeless. No, it's half of the country's homeless now, I believe. A third of the country's welfare cases, and the number of illegals. I mean, I think they said nationwide the official number was 11 million illegals. We've got 11 million in this state alone.
The thing is, nobody knows. But one thing I'll tell you: 6 months ago, 200,000 a month were flowing over the border and being distributed along the throughout the fruited plain. 6 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
We're down to a few hundred, none of which is accepted.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, how is it possible that MAGA people, I hate the name, I never used it for myself and you never used it for yourself either, but you know what I mean, supporters of Trump, they should be celebrating in the streets. They should come out, with we used to call them mother-in-law tongues, and hats and confetti. They ought to be celebrating the incredible, almost miraculous turnaround in 6 months from a million every 5 months to zero.
Well, they're not doing that.
Do you hear anybody celebrating?
No, because they're obsessed with Epstein. And why are they obsessed with Epstein? Because
it's a Jew.
Well, there's that, but we have to be honest. Too many people on our side are obsessed with underage girls, and they claim they're trying to stop it all.
You mean like Matt Gaetz?
Well, I'm not saying that these people are engaging in activities with underage girls, but I'm saying that in their little heart of hearts, they're titillated by the fact that here was this gray-haired guy who had his own private island, and was getting all the 16-year-olds. And everything that's being said about Epstein right now is a fabrication. It's false. We're not allowed to criticize Epstein because he's connected to Israel. So says the guy as he's criticizing Epstein and claiming he's connected to Israel. Okay.
So says Tucker Carlson, who's cashing in checks from Qatar.
Exactly. We don't know anything about Epstein's background. No, we know everything about his background. It's in Wikipedia, for Christ's sake. We can trace his background. We know exactly how he got to the position he was in. He worked his way up to the top. And
by the way, like so many in the finance industry who are hired as students and rise through the ranks as they get clients until eventually they set up on their own.
That's exactly right.
That is not an exception. That is the rule.
Exactly. And okay, did you notice that Epstein, he never really gave interviews? There's a lot of photos of him. I don't remember ever seeing him sitting down with a microphone on a stage somewhere talking about all his clients. Do you remember that? I don't remember that. So
he didn't have time for that.
He didn't have time for that. And currently, Pam Bondi, there's stories out there that my guess are completely fake, saying that Dan Bongino and Kash Patel have given Trump an ultimatum that if he doesn't fire her, they're gonna quit. I don't.
Shit. But
that's
wait,
what
today, the story changed.
Oh,
the story until yesterday was that Dan Bongino had a vociferous altercation with Pam Bondi in the White House. Today they say it was with Susie Wiles.
Oh, okay.
Tomorrow they're going to say it was from the old lady from Wendy's. Where's the beef?
Well, the thing is that people don't know how anything works, and they think that Epstein had a client list of people who would come to his island and give him all of their private information and knowingly go into rooms with big windows on the inside, big mirrors, in order to have activity with underage girls. Okay, for one thing, Epstein didn't contact people. People contacted Epstein. That's how it worked.
For various reasons.
For another thing.
And mostly, for the same reason they contacted John Corzine.
Yes.
Or the other fucker, the Ponzi schemer.
Bernie Madoff.
Yeah, for the same reason they contacted those people. Because everybody in their circles was talking about the excellent results he was getting for them.
That's exactly right. And these people all love to socialize with each other. So if they were going to Epstein's Island or whatever, it was for parties. These people party like there's no tomorrow. If you look at the Obama mansion in Martha's Vineyard, they have like a dance room. The dining room table sits like 40 people. I mean,
yeah. How about the parties in Virgin Atlantic's island?
I forgot his name. I know who you're talking about.
Oh God, I used to go out with him when Virgin was 2 planes.
Mm-hmm.
Richard Branson. He has an island. They used to party like fucking crazy. They used to raffle tickets to those parties among the passengers in Virgin Atlantic.
Yeah.
I guarantee you. And the same way that whenever big fish get together at Davos, there isn't a whore available anywhere else in Europe because they flock to Davos like flies on shit and take up every hotel room and turn it into their own private whorehouse.
And this is the thing about the people who our side thinks is in the Epstein client list. If they want an underage girl, they're going to get her, using their own resources. They're not going to trust somebody like Epstein.
No. And they don't have to make a great effort. One of the people that were there are pictures of him with Epstein and Maxwell, Prince Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
If Prince Andrew wanted to get laid, he wouldn't have to step more than 30 inches from his palace in London.
Well, okay, recently there was a Prince Andrew accuser who seems to have lost her mind before she committed suicide. Was that ever settled?
The one who also accused, what's his name? Attorney Harvard.
Dershowitz.
And of course, Dershowitz sued the fuck out of her and won.
Yeah.
Because she had no substance. We are at the mercy of grifters of every kind. That woman was Jufre was her name. That woman was no different than the ugly cockatiel that accused Trump.
Which one?
The cockatiel, because all of them are ugly. Oh God, New York, Bergdorf Goodman.
Oh yeah. The crone who said that he did things to her, but she can't remember the year.
No, she cannot remember the year. She was wearing a dress that came in 15 years later. Obviously, she had quite a mushroom trip to come up with all of this shit. But the thing is, you're a famous person. You're going to have a lot of people claiming you did things to them, in the expectation that you will settle rather than have your name dragged through court for 5 years.
Yeah.
You will have a lot of people throw themselves at you, like you throw a chicken at an alligator at lunchtime at the alligator farm.
Well,
it happens.
I mean, look at the strippers and prostitutes who suddenly, even though their business is sex, suddenly they get pregnant when they were with a wealthy and famous guy. And,
amazing, isn't it?
Yep.
It was never the Mexican truck driver. It's the famous one.
Well, the thing about our side, they don't understand that everything is changing at warp speed, and they get hung up. I saw something today. I just checked it. I knew it was going to be horse shit, but it was a video. Giant battles rage across Syria as the government loses control. You know what they're talking about? They're talking about the endless, tiny pot shots taken at each other by the Syrian Democratic Forces and the Arab militias in eastern Syria. And these people were claiming that the U.S. was sending air power to what? To bomb the Syrian government troops? We're trying to reach out to them. We're not going to bomb them. And the Syrian Democratic Forces and the Arab militias have been at each other's throats ever since the Syrian Democratic Forces came about. But this is more of the social media bullshit being put out there in order to somehow discredit Trump. Look how much worse things are.
What they don't know is that because of Trump's efforts, the Syrian Democratic Forces are joining the Syrian army now.
Well, this is the thing, that the process...
And so are the remnants of the YPG.
There's... Exactly. The YPG, the PKK, they all gave up their weapons in this amazing ceremony where they put them all in this big tub and dumped gasoline on them and set them on fire.
Yeah.
And
the PKK self-dissolved in Turkey.
Exactly.
They said, okay, we're not doing this shit anymore, and disarmed and went to their houses to eat couscous or whatever the fuck it is they do.
This is the thing that Trump Trump doesn't come in and say you're right and you're wrong, or you're right and you're wrong. He says, how would you like to make a lot of money and live in peace and security? And the overwhelming majority of them go, sounds pretty good. What's the deal?
Where do I sign up?
Exactly. So all of this is happening all over the Middle East. And you go to Twitter and I found one article by a Middle Eastern source. It wasn't Al Jazeera. It was one of the, I think it was the Saudi.
Al Arabiya.
Yes, and they were talking about the pot shots that the Syrian Democratic Forces and the Arab militias were taking against each other, and they were saying that basically this is how they're positioning for, the Syrian Democratic Forces being integrated into the Syrian
army,
and
which they are.
In this video I was watching, they were talking about how the current Syrian government hates the Kurds. And it's like, they made peace with the Kurds. What are you talking about? The whole point of the current force. Okay, I learned something today that I had no idea was happening. Al-Sarraj, the former Al-Julani, he goes out and he takes walks in the city to meet the local Damascans. He stopped by a wedding and he was invited to come in and watch the wedding. So he did. He's got security. But
obviously.
But think about it. Syria,
but he has control of the city, man, because no amount of security could save him from a rogue asshole with a shoulder fire rocket.
And that's the point. That's the point. He's able to walk the city without worrying that he's going to be exploded any second. So Syria, which has been at war since 2011, they're getting their act together, and it's because of Trump. It's because of Trump working with the Gulf Cooperation Council.
And I wonder what all the fuckers are going to say when Al-Sarraj or Giuliani shows up with Netanyahu at the White House in about 4 weeks.
Yep.
In about 4 weeks. And they're going to announce a peace deal between Israel and Syria. Syria is going to recognize Israel's possession of the Golan Heights. They're going to make a move to join the Abraham Accords. And this is going to happen in about 4 weeks at the White House. And what are the fuckers going to say?
Well,
we were talking 6 months. I told you we have withdrawn more than half our forces in Syria.
Yes.
We closed 7 out of 8 U.S. bases in Syria. Gone. Goodbye. We've left all the bases in the resort in the process. And we're keeping one base with about 900, among other things, because we want to make sure that the 9,000 ISIS assholes that are being held prisoner stay prisoners. And until we can trust the Syrians not to screw the pooch, we're going to have a small detachment over there. We left. Everybody was demanding that our troops come home. They're coming home. Nobody's celebrating.
No, because they're
a ticker tape parade or nothing.
They're talking about Epstein and Pam Bondi, and part of this, I'm convinced, is Trump doing things in order to distract us from what's going on under the radar.
If I thought that his lack of patience today convinced me that no, that this is in spite of him, that he's frankly getting tired of this shit.
Well, the thing is, it's better to have the press talking about Pam Bondi than it is talking about al Shara in Syria. It's better to have the press talking about Pam Bondi than it is having them talk about Israel and our close relationship to Israel.
Yeah. And what's
As
coming in 45 days?
Meaning what?
Oh, meaning that there's going to be some very precise bombing in Gaza, Iran, and Yemen.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's why all the tankers have flown out to the Middle East again. So
We're lining up the ducks, and there is a deadline. What's going to happen the day after the deadline? Kabuki.
well,
Kabluki.
also see that's the thing. We destroyed the Iranian nuclear program, and it was a 3 day story, and then the press went back to Pam Bondi and Epstein and the ICE raids. You know, Tom Homan, Tom Homan saying yes, we do stop people based on what they look like, and the press went whoop 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 whoop, and and in the meantime, we're getting rid of the mullahs. It's an amazing time to live in. The tectonic changes that are happening right out in the open, but the press is too stupid to report on them.
Yep.
It's quite shocking.
And I will say, and the bagatards, these people that I have been decrying now for 6 years, Q-tards first, bagatards now, same shit, with the same choir directors like Bannon or
Yeah,
Tucker. Eh, Look at what Trump had to say about them. I don't know if you can read this over there.
yeah, yeah,
What's going on with my boys, and in some cases, gals? They're all going after Attorney General Pam Bondi, who's doing a fantastic job. We're on the team MAGA, and I don't like what's happening. We have a perfect administration. The talk of the world, and selfish people are trying to hurt it. I wonder what he's talking, who he's talking about. All over a guy who never dies, Jeffrey Epstein. For years, it's Epstein over and over again. Why are we giving publicity to files written by Obama, crooked Hillary, Comey, Brennan, and the losers and criminals of the Biden administration who conned the world with the Russia hoax, 51 intelligence agents, the laptop from hell, and more? They created the Epstein files, just like they created the fake Hillary Clinton Christopher Steele dossier that they used on me. And now my so called friends are playing right into their hands. Why didn't these radical left lunatics release the Epstein files? If there was anything in there that could have hurt the MAGA movement, why didn't they use it? They haven't been given up on the they haven't even given up on the John F. Kennedy or Martin Luther King Jr. files. No matter how much success we have had, remember the video I showed you of Tucker Carlson saying that the CIA killed the U.S. president?
yeah, yeah.
Securing the border, deporting criminals, fixing the economy, energy dominance, a safer world where Iran will not have a nuclear weapon. It's never enough for some people. We are
Well,
about to achieve more in 6 months than any other administration has achieved in over 100 years. And we have so much more to do. We're saving our country and making America great again, which will continue to be our complete priority. The left is imploding. Kash Patel and the FBI must be focused on investigating voter fraud, political corruption, Act Blue, the rigged and stolen election of 2020, and arresting thugs and criminals instead of spending month after month looking at nothing but the same old radical left inspired documents on Jeffrey Epstein. Let Pam Bondi do her job. She's great. The 2020 election was rigged and stolen, and they tried to do the same thing in 24. That's what she's looking into as AG and much more. 1 year ago, our country was dead. Now it's the hottest country anywhere in the world. Let's keep it that way and not waste time and energy on Jeffrey Epstein, somebody that nobody cares about. Thank you for your attention to this matter. You would think it's quite clear, wouldn't you?
Yes, I I think that Trump doesn't actually mind the attacks on Pam Bondi from our side, because I think he knows the quality of the people who attack him. You know, Tucker Carlson claimed that years ago in the first Trump administration, he personally talked Trump out of going to war with Iran by telling him that in war, civilians die. And Trump went, "Oh, I had no idea. Thank you, Tucker. You've talked me out of it." And
Jesus Christ.
so, and then Tucker is everybody's useful idiot. He's Putin's useful idiot. He's the Iranian bureaucracy.
The mullahs is the idiots.
Yeah.
And he is the paid employee of Qatar.
Yeah. And he makes these retarded statements. He says nobody's allowed to criticize Israel. He says, as he's criticizing Israel without any repercussions. And I saw the clip you showed me, and the idiots in the audience went woohoo, and that's fine.
Morons, each and every one of them.
But here's the thing: Israel has destroyed all of the mullahs' weapons. Syria, Hezbollah. Okay, the Houthis. The Houthis can still send skiffs out to fire rocket-propelled grenades at ships and everything, but the Saudis are
civilian ships.
The Saudis are building a land force that's going to go in and take the entire southern part of Yemen back from the Houthis, so that they can't close off the Red Sea anymore. And the Saudis had defeated the Houthis until the Biden administration.
I'll be right back. You keep going.
Yeah,
Solo.
The Biden administration cut off aid to the Saudis and got rid of sanctions on Iran, so that the mullahs could replenish the Houthis' arsenals. And then Biden took the Houthis off the State Department terrorism list. So the Houthis can be defeated. It took the Saudis. The Saudis first attacked in 2015, and Biden became president in 2021. So it had taken the Saudis almost 6 years, and Biden undid all of that almost instantaneously, because all you need to do is increase the flow of money, and then they get their weapons, they get all of that. But okay, the Saudis killed, or sorry, the Israelis killed the Houthi army chief of staff. He was at a cat chewing party. It was a whole bunch of Houthi leaders. They got together to chew leaves, and the leaves get them high. It's cat, Khat, much more powerful than coca. And there's people who claim, oh, it's no different than coffee. No, it's like methamphetamine. And so they killed the Houthi chief of staff at a cat chewing party. So this is the quality of the people that the Houthis are. And there are those who insist that the United States should send in ground forces into Yemen. No, we shouldn't. And
no need.
There's no need. And also, we have too much baggage now to, we could bomb we could bomb the mullah's nuclear program because we're the only people with the munitions that could get the job done. But we can't ever overthrow. This is why Trump is very cagey about regime change in Iran. He says he's not for it. He's for it because he understands that the mullahs. Okay, Tucker Carlson was interviewing the president of Iran, and the guy said, "Oh, don't worry about death to America. It's just a salutation. It's like saying good morning." And then there are clips of the Grand Ayatollah saying death to America isn't just a slogan, it's a policy. So who are you going to believe? Are you going to believe the president who's talking to an American useful idiot? Or are you going to believe the Grand Ayatollah who's talking to his own people? They don't have the means to destroy America, but they could do a hell of a lot of damage if they had nuclear weapons because...
Well, they have done a hell of a lot of damage.
You're right.
People forget, when this same idiotic crowd has been carping that we shouldn't be fighting Israel's war.
The Iranians say death to America and then death to Israel. They call us the great Satan and they call Israel the little Satan.
The mini-me, the Satan mini-me.
We're the number one enemy in the mullah sites.
We have had literally thousands of American troops killed. I don't know how many, but some estimates are in the something like 25 to 5,500 wounded. We've had thousands of civilians killed. And these fucking idiots are talking about Israel's war. They're ridiculous. And it was about time that the U.S. reacted.
Military,
I've been waiting since 79 for this.
The Military Times, 1 in 6 American fatalities in Iraq were attributed to Iran.
Yeah. The IEDs, remember?
Yep.
And how about the rockets and missiles, in some cases missiles, fired from Iran, not by militias in Iraq, thrown at the consulate compound in Erbil, at military bases in Kurdistan and in Anbar? Why isn't this discussed openly? Why is it Israel's war?
Well, because, okay, there's a certain type of person who comes up with a notion and then they look for information that backs up their preconceived notion. So they start out with the idea that this is Israel's war and not ours. They don't look at the war and decide whether or not it's our war or Israel's war, both, neither. They start out with it's Israel's war, and then they have a confirmation bias when they look through the news. They go, "Oh, look,
Of course.
see, here's proof." And the type of people like Tucker Carlson is not a deep thinker. Tucker Carlson is a surface skater, and he's proved it time and time and time again. He's got
and a whore. He'll say whatever he needs to say if he gets the check in time.
Right. And he's got his trademark puzzled look where he's just asking questions. I'm just asking questions. He's not just asking questions. He's making statements. And the statements are always in one direction. He claims that he criticizes America because he loves America, but his criticism is false. His criticism is that we're helping engage in genocide in Gaza. That's not genocide. It's right. A war. It's not
and he wonders why people might think that is an anti-Semitic statement. It is a blood libel for crying out fucking loud.
Yeah.
To say that Israel is committing genocide in Gaza is like saying that they're eating Christian babies in their Shabbat.
Yeah.
It is the same kind of blood libel, and this son of a bitch is guilty as sin of incurring into that habit. Now it turns out that Epstein was a Mossad agent.
Yeah. See,
Right.
that's the funniest thing of all.
And why? And why? Because Eruk Bahad, when he was a former prime minister of Israel, stayed at his house in New York. Well, Prince Andrew stayed at his house in New York. Was he working for MI6?
Well, okay. One of the claims made today is that Charles Manson was a CIA asset. Okay, Charles Manson was far too unstable and far too
Gone. Crazy.
for the CIA to use. And what was the CIA using him for? To start Helter Skelter? Why would the CIA want to start? I mean, none of it makes any sense.
Because Sharon Tate rebuffed the advances of a CIA director, so he had it for her.
Oh, whatever.
Yeah, no, they're freaking idiots. It's too much.
The Mossad launched something on the order of, it was a double-digit number of simultaneous attacks that took out the entire head of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps in Tehran. And these are the people, they're still in Tehran, these are the people who were told would hire someone as utterly unstable as Epstein to be a Mossad asset who was going to blackmail the governments of the West. Since when has a single government of the West done Israel's bidding? Israel has done the bidding of virtually every government in the West, but since when has the United States done Israel's bidding? Tell me. Give me one example.
Well, that's because Epstein wasn't effective, you see, so he couldn't get anybody to do. They're idiots. They're idiots. Israel was forced to put up with his constant war with every neighbor. It was forced to withdraw from Lebanon when they were on the eve of offing Nasrallah 20 years ago. Imagine the amount of blood that would have been spared. They were forced to withdraw from Gaza every time they went in after a provocation meaning blowing up a mall or a pizza joint,
Or
killing
700
teenagers.
700 rockets fired overnight.
Yeah, every day.
Yeah.
In all told, 30,000. I mean, come on. And Israel was always forced to shut up and put up with it. Obama allowed the warehouses of rockets for the Iron Dome to run empty, with the warning to Israel that the U.S. would no longer provide them unless they opened up checkpoints, unless they withdraw forces, unless they stop settlements. If anything, the West has been betraying Israel and forcing it to act against its best interest for the past 80 years.
Well, I'll tell you something, since I know about munitions. Biden told the Israelis not to go into Rafah, and they said, fuck you. So Biden cut off the supply of 2,000-pound bombs. What the Biden administration didn't know is that the Israelis had anticipated this years ago. The Israelis built a 500-pound bomb that has the same destructive power as the 2,000-pound bomb. They prefer the American 2,000-pound bomb because it's much cheaper. Israel is a tiny country with tiny manufacturing abilities. So during the period that Biden cut off the 2,000-pound bombs, the Israelis were dropping their 500-pound bombs that have the same destructive power. When Trump came back, they didn't have to do that anymore. They didn't have to spend. Okay, I mean, during this
Yeah,
war, during the height of the war, there were so many Israelis in combat that the Israeli economy was taking a hit. You know,
yeah.
everyone
They,
in there.
everybody's mobilized in Israel right now.
Exactly.
Um,
So
but there is one thing when you say when Biden told them not to go to Rafah, the fucking imbecile told them not to go to Haifa,
perfect.
and we did a show at the time, and I had the video in there because
Yeah, you're right. I remember that now.
the brainless twerp warned Israel not to go into Haifa.
Yeah,
Oh, for crying out loud! I
yeah.
I I had so much shame while that idiot was president that
Well, okay.
anybody would think that I'm somehow connected with that.
Well, this is the thing. The left says that the world is laughing at us now that Trump is president. The
Yeah.
world is not laughing. They're swallowing heavily and they're sweating and they're hoping
Oh
not to
God,
piss him off. Yeah. But
yes.
do you remember? Did you ever see that Egyptian? It was an Egyptian parody of.
The comedian.
It was a Biden press conference,
Yes.
and he was like falling and turning around backwards and waving to nothing, and the
And
world
and
laughed at
and
us.
and a fat Obama
Yeah,
behind him was trying to straighten him out.
yeah. So the world laughed at us when we had a president with dementia,
Yep.
and apparently
Nobody's
Jill.
laughing now. They're worried now.
They're worried, but okay, the world is run by.
I'm sorry. Let me clarify that. Our friends are happy. Our enemies are worried.
Yes. What was I saying? Uh, I forgot. Anyway,
Yeah, you were talking that during the Biden administration, everybody was laughing at us. Now nobody's laughing.
no, nobody's laughing, and the world is run by idiots who think, and they think that the world will be a better place without the United States. Then they get it under Biden, and they're horrified at how everything went to pieces. So they had to experience it, just like Americans. This is my theory that Trump didn't fight tooth and nail after the 2020 election was stolen because he wanted Americans to experience life under Joe Biden, and it worked. What's going to happen in the future is that we're going to have the Democratic Party running on destroying everything. Okay, think about it. They said Steve Bannon said that making changes in Medicare was going to cost the Republicans 40 seats in the
Yeah,
House.
yeah. Yeah,
Nobody's talking.
and bombing Iran was going to cost tens of thousands of dead American soldiers
Yeah,
too.
nobody's talking about Medicaid anymore or Medicare.
Mm-mm.
It's gone. It was a 3-day story. I don't even know what the hell they're talking about anymore. Epstein and Pam Bondi.
That's
But
it. For this crowd, yeah, that's about the alpha and the omega of it. But yesterday, 1,500 useless, retarded kindergartners were thrown out of Foggy Bottom uh, at the State Department. Among them, the entire staff of the Global Warming Office.
mhm,
We actually had an office in the State Department to press for climate uh, uh, policies, whatever the fuck they are. They're looking for a job today. They had a few dozen of their co-workers clap and cheer as they left the building just to give them courage, and hanging signs inside the bathrooms because these are very, very, very courageous people. So they sign they hang their signs in bathroom stalls just in case anybody sees them. Resist fascism.
So the State Department employees don't even know what fascism is.
No, and what it tells me is that 1500 is a good forward step.
Yeah.
They need to be joined by another 9,000.
Well, I saw on Twitter, I saw a clip of them clapping those people out, and they said State Department employees, some of whom had been there for decades, and it's like decades. Yeah.
Oh, the stories I could tell you. Some of whom hadn't worked in decades.
Yeah.
Some of whom had done zero fucking work and sat at their desk, scratching their genitals, watching TikTok, talking to their mother-in-law, doing whatever the fuck they wanted except work because they couldn't be fired.
Well, also, let's say, okay, decades. So let's say
it gets work. It gets worse.
Let's say 30 years. 30 years ago, this country, in comparison to what the country is today, there is no comparison. We don't need State Department officials who came up in the early 1990s to be still in the State Department. They won't have learned anything. They won't believe. For example, I'm sure there wasn't a single one of these people who were let go who was astonished at the changes happening in the Middle East. I'm sure none of them were astonished. So what purpose?
None of them know where the Middle East is.
Exactly.
I mean, come on. Somebody says in the chat they didn't even show up to work. No, worse. They showed up at 7:58 and punched.
Mm-hmm.
And then they waited around the clock until 4:01, 4:02 to punch out. Because then they were in before 8 and they stayed until after 4, and that entitled them to a bonus. So they went in there, punched before 8, and immediately went to the cafeteria. If there was one place where you couldn't get a fucking chair in Foggy Bottom, was the cafeteria, because these assholes were drinking coffee until 10 in the morning. And then they went to their offices to do their private business and play video games and watch TikTok. I'm not even making this up. Until it was 4 p.m., and then they made sure they punched after 4 p.m. Some of these people haven't had an hour of productive work in 20 years. And yet there were, sucking the state teeth dry. There are 9,000 like those. You don't want to go, if this is in Foggy Bottom, you don't want to go to the annex. It's even worse. There are people there who don't even know what their job is. Can you imagine that?
I live in California, so yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. All you have to do is go to LA City Hall.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and we had a 27 billion surplus in June. If we got rid of all of these leeches, of all of these barnacles that are sucking resources like crazy, month in and month out, we would have a surplus every fucking month thereafter.
Well, think about it. Everything that Trump is, the tariffs were going to destroy the economy. And of course, it had the exact opposite result.
This is the Tucker.
Yeah,
This is my Tucker Carlson impersonation. Yes,
yeah, exactly. Destroying the Iranian nuclear programs was going to cause a war that would kill tens of thousands of Americans. Okay, I saw something. It was a claim using one fuzzy photo that the Iranians had blown up in Qatar. They'd hit a radar.
a radar. Yes, I saw that. By the way, the photo you can't see shit anyway. So
No,
uh,
no, and so the claim was that we were now completely blind in that whole area. It's like, yeah, because of course we can't rebuild radomes. We're incapable of rebuilding radomes.
I would say in an hour,
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
if
these
need
people
be.
they don't even know what a radome is. I mean,
No, no, they don't know how many we have. They don't know
yeah,
how many stations we have in the Middle East
that's another
rendering.
point. That's another
Yeah,
point. We believe in redundancy. So
Jesus
that's
fucking
not the only,
Christ.
we don't put all our trust in one radome, and when the enemy knocks it out, we're like, oh no, now we're blind forever.
God, it's almost painful, that these people are so stupid. But there we are. Um, uh, what knows? The spending that was not cut in the BBB can now be cut by not spending it. Um, it's a nice phrase that they put in the chat. However, the BBB cuts net 1.2 trillion. It's not that it doesn't cut; it cuts 1.2 fucking trillion. Um, we will cut another trillion uh, by firing and not replacing a lot of these smoochers in the federal administration. We're gonna cut a shit ton of money by getting rid of empty properties. We're spending billions on maintenance of buildings that have been empty for 20 years. It's insane.
No, well, see,
Tell them about condos.
this is the thing that people will tell you, you know, I mean, it's really elementary. Here in California, whenever they want to raise taxes, they just tell people, you just pay a few pennies more. And it's like, yeah, but this is happening like every 2 months.
Yeah, I only have a few pennies left, asshole.
Well, okay, there's an old medieval story about it's a kingdom that's overrun by rats, and the king says he'll offer anybody, whatever they ask for to get rid of the rats. So this guy shows up. He said, "I'll do it. Give me 1 penny the first day, 2 pennies the second day, four
Oh yeah.
pennies the third day, 8 pennies." And the king's going, "Pennies, okay." So the guy gets rid of all the rats, and then like 3 months later, the kingdom is totally bankrupt, and the rat catcher is now in charge of the whole kingdom because he's got all the money in the entire kingdom.
I knew it as a J.D. Rockefeller anecdote. Same story.
Yep.
Uh, But yeah, I don't think people know the power of compounding.
Yeah.
But then again, they don't know anything about finances anyhow.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, okay, again, people are talking about, oh, why can't they cut the 9 billion that was recommended by Doge? And it's like that's like an hour and a half of federal spending. Like
Mm.
Doge can do a lot, but it's going to take a while for everything to really kick in. And as you point out, Trump's been president for 6 months, and people are making these weird ass demands. They're acting like
They're jacking off. Another thing, we're talking about warp speed. I think Father Chris, hello, Father Chris, mentioned it in the chat. The peace deal between Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo. These
Mhm.
people have been at each other's throat for the better part of 20 years. I believe they actually started having skirmishes before the genocide in Rwanda in the 90s.
Oh, absolutely.
In comes
Absolutely.
Trump, and all of a sudden they have a fucking peace deal. They come to Washington to sign it, and we have a peace deal between Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And then he intervenes and he stops the war between India and Pakistan, which, as you know, was going to lead to nuclear Armageddon because both countries have nuclear weapons. And you and I were cracking up because no, it's not going to happen.
I heard
But
people
still,
saying that India and Pakistan were now in a state of total war.
they don't know what total war means.
They don't know what total war means.
Total war is not tit for tat in the border zone, you fucking idiots.
No.
Um, so there you have a peace deal, or rather a ceasefire between India and Pakistan. And then he just intervened in we're going to have a peace deal between Azerbaijan and Armenia. These people have been at each other's throats since 1989. Over Nagorno-Karabakh, over these, over that, over the border, over there, over I don't like your cousin, your mother is a whore. And for the better part of 30 plus years, these people have been at war.
Well, see,
Not anymore.
okay, the Turks wouldn't be able to broker that sort of peace. Trump can. I don't think
No,
Biden.
by the way, nobody trusts the Turks because the Turks were supporting Azerbaijan while the Russians were supporting Armenia. Now
Exactly.
the Turks and the Russians lose allies. Armenia and Azerbaijan are going to have a fucking peace deal, and probably both of them are going to ask for admission to the European Union after that.
And also NATO.
Oh,
The Armenians have already
se
had
cae de la
exercise.
mata. Yes.
So people trust Trump because he treats everybody the same. I mentioned this before, but a Saudi political analyst said that Trump has a bilateral relationship with every country on earth. That he's at home, whether he's in a palace or a camel's tent. He doesn't look down on the countries he's doing business with. And this is what people like Trump's authenticity. That Trump is the same with everybody. Like I saw Ocasio-Cortez giving some speech the other day, and suddenly she lapsed into this black urban accent. And it was just like, oh God, that's really, really embarrassing. The I don't know, Hillary with her, I don't mean Mao, no, me, no, Mao. I don't know, it's just really, for Biden, even before he got demented.
He was insufferable in the 80s.
Yeah.
And then he had his aneurysm blow up.
Yep.
And he came back with a big scar.
Yep.
And a lot of people were convinced that half his brain fell off during the operation because he was a fucking idiot. Remember that I kept saying people attribute this to Alzheimer's. He was like this 40 years ago.
Yeah, whatever he has, it's not Alzheimer's because it would have what's the word? It would have increased over that 4-year span.
Right. No, he was for 4 years what he was before for 20 years.
Yeah,
When Obama used to joke that everybody in their family has an Uncle Joe,
yeah.
that every time he opens his mouth he fucks it up.
Mm,
Uh, Never underestimate Joe's capacity to screw it up.
yep,
Never did. That was back in 2010.
yep.
So it's. But there is no question that he was a brainless twerp for whatever reason. Um,
Well, that's another part of the warp speed change. Obama left no trace. Obama's wife is out there insulting him every chance she gets publicly.
yeah, well,
Um,
if I had her face, I'd be upset with the world too.
well, he tried to get young black men to vote for Kamala, and he did it in the worst possible way. He tried to be he tried to be from the hood, and he told them, "I don't find that right." And I saw TikToks from young urban black men saying, "You know what he's doing? He's saying, get back in place," N words. And okay, that's another thing that's changed. Americans they've lost their fear of being called racist, and they fight back. Corporations left and right are just dropping their DEI programs, you
Yep.
know.
Which they couldn't put up fast enough
Yep,
under the extortion threats
yep,
from the Obama minions in BLM and Organizing for America and all that. Just remember that.
yeah. Well, think of that. BLM is not a factor anymore in anything.
No,
Um, there's a lot of
they committed PR suicide.
well, there's a lot of protesting going on against ICE, but the protests are tiny, and the ICE guys, they're not like local cops. They dive in the middle of it and start punching people in the face. And
Well,
Antifa's
now
never.
Trump gave them today the authority to arrest people after punching them in the face.
Yeah, no, I've seen some amazing videos of ICE guys grabbing these little Antifa scarecrows and literally just flinging them 10 feet. And you know, I don't know. It's everything is changing really fast, and it's all for the better.
Yep.
And part of it is aggravating because it means that all of this was there and everyone was just too afraid to stand up for themselves.
You and I knew that the border crisis was fabricated, that these fucking sons of bitches were doing it on purpose, that there was no need to have 200, 300,000 assholes every month cross the river into our neighborhoods. We knew that. People are now saying that, because if Iran gets upset, that they have sleeper cells in the U.S. Are you kidding me? During the Obama years, over 5,000 terrorists got into this country. But during the Biden years, another 5,000. We have 5 to 10,000 assholes from anywhere from ISIS slash Al Qaeda to Hezbollah, because there's probably more Hezbollah now in New York than there are in southern Lebanon. Certainly in Detroit. And of course, they're going to try to act at one time. So far, we've been catching them every time they move because, God is a very interesting character. He gives us enemies, but he makes them idiots.
Well, this is the thing that they keep catching people who are borderline retarded. That their plans were like, Okay, also, American Muslims know that this country is the best country to be Muslim
Yeah.
in.
And
And
they do know that.
they do know that, and they're turning in these people all the time because apparently these fucks can't keep their mouths closed. You know?
No. And they always go to a mosque and try to recruit, and the people in the mosque, starting with Imam, call the FBI. We have another asshole, and that's the end of it. If they don't catch him immediately, it's because sometimes they want to see who else
Mhm.
they bring to their orbit. But no, they're not going to have a lot of legs. And like I've been saying for years, and it has happened, uh, you cannot stop an asshole driving an SUV over a sidewalk. And fortunately, periodically, one of them is going to succeed with that one. But
They have
that's
succeeded.
about the extent. Hmm?
They have succeeded. The one thing we don't
Yes, they
have in this
have.
one thing we don't have in this country are European style knife slaughters, where a jihadist sympathizer goes crazy with a knife, and we don't have that very often. And part of it is because these people, despite their claims, they're afraid of armed Americans.
You see,
Americans,
Europeans are defenseless.
they're not only defenseless in Europe, they're they're trained by their governments to not ask bystanders for help, but to tell bystanders to call the police.
Yeah.
So bystanders tend not to get involved, which is in the U.S. Just go to social media and you'll see bystanders instantly jumping in and beating the tar out of whatever
Yep.
criminal is committing their act. And
Sometimes they get it wrong and beat the wrong guy, but yeah, they do it all the time. I remember a poor son of a bitch, crazy motherfucker. He was at an aircraft here at Miami International, and he had a panic attack and wanted to get off the plane, and missed the door and started banging on the cockpit door.
mhm.
Within seconds, a dozen passengers fell on top of him and beat him to a fucking pulp. He wasn't a terrorist. He was just a poor shit with a panic attack. It didn't matter. Let the hospital figure that one out. Eh, I don't see that happening in Europe.
No, Europe is the weirdest place because they have some of the best counterterrorism units in the world, but they refuse to use them. Did you
Yeah.
see armed police at the Manchester airport tried to arrest two Muslim guys? They
Yes.
got into this huge fight. One of them punched a female officer in the face, and she
And
was
she
out of the.
started crying.
She started crying. She was out of the fight. I've seen American female cops.
My nose. He broke my nose. My
Well,
nose
also
he broke.
she said he fucked up my face,
Yes.
and it's like I've seen American female cops get decked, and they just get right back up and start fighting again.
Yeah.
Well, okay, I know the female Secret Service agents got a lot of shit during the Trump assassination attempt, but they
Not
did
from
their
me.
job. They did their job. They surrounded him.
Yes.
They blocked they blocked what they could.
Those women put their backs to the shooter to
Mhm.
protect the president,
Yeah,
and they were ready to take a bullet anytime. They didn't know if that was it. They didn't know if there was a second shooter. They
no,
didn't know how many bullets were incoming,
yeah,
and they used their bodies as shield for the president. Anybody who bad mouths them, um, it's gonna have to fight me because I swear to God, I have no patience for these assholes,
well,
and I have nothing but respect for these women.
In the Manchester case at the airport, the big controversy is that one of the cops kicked the guy in the head. The guy, like, he broke a female cop's nose. He was smashing cops all over the place. The cop who kicked him in the head said that the guy had tried to go for his gun because these were armed police.
Yeah. I saw a gun on the floor there.
Say it again?
I thought I saw a gun on the floor near the policewoman that had the broken nose.
It could be. The only thing people care about is the mean cop kicked the poor innocent Muslim in the head. And
they're deranged.
This is proof that these countries are they're insistent on committing national suicide.
Yes.
And Americans aren't. We're going in the opposite direction.
Spain is approaching a breaking point now, but you recall when there was the Al Qaeda attack on the Ramblas in Barcelona,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the attackers, three actually escaped, but one was eventually cornered 3 days later. And when the cops showed up at the house where he opened fire on the cops, and a firefight ensued with hundreds of shots fired, because apparently the cops couldn't hit a target at 2 feet away. And eventually, out of the law of averages, one of the cops' bullets hit the asshole and he dropped dead. What do you think they did with that cop?
Charged them with murder.
A 5-year murder trial. What are they, fucking nuts?
Well, just disband the counterterrorism units. Just
Well,
have
they did in Barcelona, as a matter of fact.
yeah. No, just have constables with billy clubs, and when the terrorists do stuff, the constables can just step out of the way.
Yeah. And Posa says, were the ladies among those recently suspended from the Secret Service? I believe not. I believe that President Trump only a week ago was singing their praises.
Yeah, no, they didn't do anything wrong. They were assigned that detail on the day before.
Yeah.
They were not allowed to do any reconnaissance. They did the best.
And it wasn't the job. The personal detail by the president, that was somebody else's job to screen the area and seal the perimeter. That wasn't their job. Their job was to cover the president, and that they did.
Yeah, they did. So, and people made fun of the height differential. Yeah,
Doesn't matter.
A tall president should have a tall security detail.
We need to recruit Secret Service personnel to guard President Trump out on the NBA. They're idiots.
Well, that was the thing that these were agents who were hired by the Biden administration, and the fact that they were a foot and a half shorter than Trump didn't matter. I mean, we have to be,
and it shouldn't matter, and it doesn't matter.
We have to be honest and say that the Biden administration wasn't in the least concerned about Trump's safety, because we're seeing that the people who worked in the Biden administration were true believers, and the true believers don't need facts. They don't need rationality. They don't need anything. Okay. The actor. Did you know that the actor John Cusack is getting criticized by Blue Sky for being too extreme? His posts.
I know he is deranged.
He is completely deranged.
I didn't know that he was being criticized in Blue Sky, which maybe not everybody's as crazy as I thought there.
Well, he's been posting Nazi-style anti-Jewish cartoons.
Yep.
And his posts are now being removed. Nobody's sure if he's removing them or if the moderators are removing them, but he's under a hell of a lot of criticism from Blue Sky users because he's insane, and they're telling him that he's openly calling for what happened to Trump to happen successfully, and there are people in Blue Sky who are watching everything slip away from the Democrats because of people like John Cusack.
Yeah.
And
but it's their fault.
It is. They're the ones.
They should have called those assholes 10 years ago.
Well, that's the thing that when that happened, I remember I woke up. I went to the bathroom and they turned on the radio and they said that the president had been shot, and my stomach dropped to my feet. I ran to the computer and saw that he was going to be okay. And then not too soon after that, the footage began being released. And I was just watching all these high-ranking people saying, too bad the guy missed. And of course, they all deleted it later and they made their AI written apologies. This is not me. I am better than this. And it's like, of course it's you. Exactly. Of course it's you. You're the one who said it.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that.
Kelly saying here, Biden denied RFK Jr. security. So that's probably the only thing that I cannot criticize Biden for not doing. He didn't give security to Oliver. There were 5 presidential candidates with no security, and RFK Jr. wasn't even a presidential candidate. So why the hang up? Why security for him and not for the libertarian candidate, for instance?
Well, I mean, my guess is that RFK can afford his own security.
That too.
Trump,
but they eventually they were given.
Yeah.
But I thought it was a waste of taxpayers' money.
Well, okay, the Biden administration showed us that when Democrats are given the control they want, they screw everything up. They make stupid decisions that are based on a strange combination of moral corruption and twisted ideology that has never worked anywhere at any time in this world. And okay, the guy who's running for mayor in New York, Mamdani.
Oh God.
If he makes it, he's not going to have enough money to do any of the things he's promising.
No.
And B, what he is going to be able to do is make New York 10 times worse than it is right now.
They're going right back to 75.
He'll be able to raise taxes. He'll be able to drive out the last people who still have money.
Yep. And the last corporations. I mean, insurance companies have gone to fucking Des Moines.
Yeah.
Out of New York City. Florida is filled with banks and financial companies. Lynchburg, Virginia has become a financial hub because of companies living in New York.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So he's going to accelerate that process. And I remember when New York was broke, literally, and the services didn't work and the city was half empty. And you could buy a building in Soho for 10 grand. And they're going right back.
Yeah, there was a documentary.
And remember when New York used to be the bond capital of the world? During this episode, all the bond companies moved to London, and the city of London became the bond capital of New York, and New York lost all of that fucking tax revenue. They're going to lose the financial markets.
When I was a little kid, I saw a TV drama. It was made in the mid 70s, and it was about a police shooting in New York City. And during this period, the city was so broke that the officers brought their own weapons to work.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was a shooting case where an officer brought a Korean War automatic rifle to work, and he froze on the trigger, and um, they were able to prove that he was justified because the guy he shot was wearing a leather jacket with rows of brass buttons, and as he was reaching into his pocket to get his gun, he was blocking two of the buttons, and he could see the reflection. But that always struck me. The city was so broke they couldn't issue their own firearms,
Yep.
and officers were bringing Korean War automatic rifles to work. I mean, and they've already done this, and okay, Mamdani wants to defund the cops even more and replace them with social workers.
Yeah, I know. It's going to work so nice in the Bronx.
Each social worker needs to carry his or her own body bag because that's what they're going to need.
Save time.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what, they should wear the body bag with maybe a couple of slits so that they can put their feet through and walk in it.
yep.
So when the time comes, all you do is just pull up
Just,
the zipper,
yeah.
and take them out.
I
What
mean,
a bunch of morons! I mean, I cannot believe this. And to hear of a major party candidate to what's conceivably the most important mayor's office in the world, repeating with 1970s fervor to each according to their need, from each according to their capacity.
yeah.
Is this for fucking real?
Well, also look at the
What
guy.
is he, like 12 years old?
Well, the guy is a complete cartoon character.
Yeah,
He's got like
he's a mama's boy.
he's got like these. Okay, there's a clip of him screaming at Tom Homan in a hallway, and he's being pushed away by cops.
Yeah,
And all I could see from this clip were these bands of white teeth. His white teeth shining in his
clapping.
beard, and it was just like, and of course he was just saying leftist crap, Gestapo and all that, and the way that they all call him Zoran, like we're all in again. See, leftist voters fall in love with their candidates.
What wasn't there a an arcade game of Sorhan the Magician?
Something like that.
I think it was Sorhan.
Yeah.
It could have been Sorfan, but something like that. The guy is name carries the name of an arcade game. He's fucking brainless. Have you seen his rap?
His what?
Have you seen him rapping?
Oh God, he raps. Perfect. Perfect.
Oh, that was his career before all of this shit began, and his mommy financed the career and paid for a movie
Ah.
so that he could star in his own movie,
Okay,
and
so
mommy paid for it.
he's Obama all over again, but this time he's a Muslim, and
Yeah, and mommy is not dead; she's paying the bills.
yep.
I mean, it's how do I still remember when Ocasio-Cortez arrived in Congress ready to run for president the next day and came up with the Green New Deal, and Pelosi shoved it up her ass and told her to get the fuck out of her office because we don't have time for these idiocies. And 4 years later, Pelosi is parading this stupid cow around like the future of the Democratic Party. What the hell happened there?
What I've read is that the people running the party are the Silicon Valley donors. And these are idiots. These are like Mark Zuckerberg.
Teenagers.
Just idiots. And they themselves live these lives of outrageous opulence, and they think that it's possible for everybody to have fabulous lives because the money can always be taken from
Somebody else.
Yeah, conservative billionaires. Because it's funny because the leftist wealthy do not donate to charity.
True.
And they also don't pay taxes. Stephen King was demanding that his taxes be raised, but Stephen King he uses every trick in the book to avoid paying taxes because he says there's no point in he alone paying high taxes. All rich people have to pay high taxes together, and until we get to that point, he's not going to be the sacrificial lamb. Exactly. So,
come on, they're just hypocrites. They're always generous with other people's money.
Yeah.
Somebody said, well, there's an old saying, and actually President Milei used it. Everybody's gay with somebody else's asshole. He actually said that in a congressional speech not too long ago. It's very easy to do things when you have no skin on the game. It's very easy to spend somebody else's money. He's right. Everybody's gay with somebody else's asshole. The bald guy says, I think that was the arcade game in the movie Big with Tom Hanks. I think you're right. I remember the damn shit in Coney Island. The one that read your future. God. Anyway, so we're going back to the thing where all of this is going on, while the Democrats are slowly becoming a comical footnote to history. Trump is advancing. I think there are already 20,000 federal employees trying to look for a job. For the first time in the longest time, the number of new employments are in the private sector, with none in the public sector, or barely none. Why aren't people talking about that?
Did you know that Mom Donnie is putting out a shirt, Hot Girls for Zoran?
Yes.
There are no hot girls who support Zoran.
Well,
there aren't.
The little incel is entitled to a dream, isn't he?
I don't know. It's just really.
The man is a jack off. Come on.
Well, he's a devout Muslim who supports gay rights and transsexualism.
He's not a devout Muslim any more than I am a devout Buddhist.
Yeah.
Let's start with that.
Yeah, it's true.
He isn't. He may be nominally a Muslim, uh, like so many Catholics who have not gone to Mass in 40 years. Speaking of Catholics, did you see the Conference of Bishops?
No, what they do?
The little fucks criticizing Trump over immigration policy.
What, the new pope or the new
Well,
or the
no,
bishops?
this is the Conference of Bishops. The bishops, the new Pope too. You can throw him in the pile just as well. These fucking sons of bitches who spent billions of our money in the hostels for the migrants, in the Pastoral del Migrante, in Catholic charities, who actually pay the people to join caravans.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're talking about the injustice and inhumanity of returning them home in a plane.
Well,
At
this is the
least
thing.
we're not forcing them to go in el tren de la muerte so that they can get fucked again on the way south as they were on the way north.
Well, the thing is that these people can criticize Trump. It's like criticizing Israel. You can criticize Israel all you want. You can be Tucker Carlson, get up on stage and start like screeching. It's not going to stop the Israelis. The Catholic bishops, they can criticize Trump all they want. It's not going to stop him. And this is what's so bizarre about all of this. Like, okay, they tried various marches, and the only people showing up were like old people who've been paid to go there, and they made for horrible PR. The weeping old lady saying, "I'm afraid of everything," and she just got mocked into oblivion on social media. It's the same thing. I mean, the country is behind what Trump is doing. The country supports it. And
oh yeah, 80%.
the more cities that turn into my city, and I used to have to wait sometimes for 3 or 4 cars to go past my driveway before I could back out. Now I can back out, turn, go down to the end of the street, make my nominal stop, and then go. I always look, but now I don't even have to. There are no cars on the road. It's wonderful. And in the past,
amazing.
Exactly.
Do you think that even some of the California Democrats, who are not Democrats out of conviction, but probably at this rate out of habit, do you think that if things begin to improve and they have better service at the hospitals and they have less waiting times for doctors and they can actually drive from Westwood to Santa Monica in under 1 hour? I remember when it was 25 minutes. Um, you think that they might begin to say, wait a second, life
Well,
can be.
there's a director named James Gunn, and James Gunn makes superhero movies. And James Gunn has put out a new Superman movie. This is like the 700th Superman movie.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about this movie, apparently Variety completely fabricated a quote from James Gunn that this was about immigration and blah, blah, blah. Apparently the movie is completely apolitical. Superman is a farm boy, and they did not let him say truth, justice, and the American way. He said truth, justice, and a lot more, or something like that. But the Lois Lane character is not a boss girl. And the actors are being interviewed on the red carpet, and they're saying, this movie's about supporting immigrants, and the MAGA crowd is all angry. What do you have to say? And they're all saying the same thing. It's a movie. It's a movie. That's all. Enjoy the movie. So something has changed. James Gunn is a big deal, and a big studio put out this movie, and they didn't want to get political with it. They saw that as a losing move on their part. So it could be that okay, California is trying desperately to keep Hollywood from leaving California,
Yep.
and it's like, but how can you do that when it's catastrophically expensive to make movies in California, and every little government shit with a clipboard is coming around and making sure that this, that, and the other permit is all, filled in, and you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to do that. You have to have this percentage of diversity and that percentage of gender, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And there's 2 major studios opening up in Las Vegas. They just had enough. Their studios moving to Texas.
Yep.
So
the Carolinas.
Yeah. So if we have 4 years of the quality of life improving dramatically in California, and then we have people coming along saying, elect me and I promise to take things back to the way they were before, it could be that that'll be a completely losing, okay, what did I read? Winsome Sears, where's she?
Yep.
Is she in
Virginia?
Virginia.
She's a candidate for governor of Virginia.
Right. And I read some article saying this is a bellwether. The Democrats ahead. And this is a bellwether election that'll show us where things are going to go in the midterms.
Oh, give me a fucking break. By the way, yes, the Democrat, Spanberger, I call her Spamberger for obvious reasons. She is a little bit ahead of the polls. Whoa, color me fucking surprised. A Democrat leading a statewide election in Virginia. Need I remind everybody that Glenn Youngkin was a surprise?
Mm-hmm.
That got everybody with their pants down because the Democrats were running for the second time McAuffle. And I think a good number of Virginians were ready to vote for Modi, as long as they didn't vote for McAuffle. And now they have these denizen of Northern Virginia, a swamp girl, who looks the part and plays dumb. And it is, of course, way far to the left than she pretends. And it's a very tight race. That's not a harbinger of anything. That is not a plebiscite on Trump. And in fact, it would be a terrible mistake for the Republicans to try to turn it into that, because Virginians are fiercely local in their elections. One of the reasons that Youngkin won is that he kept the election local. He kept the election about the school boards and taxes in Virginia and the gas tax. And now things have changed so much that Spanberger is talking about reducing taxes and eliminating the car tax and all that shit. I don't believe her for a split second, and I don't think she would do any of that. But things have changed in a way so that she's forced to tack to the right in the campaign. But she is worse than Ocasio-Cortez. And she campaigns on the fact that she was once a CIA agent. She was never a CIA agent. She was an analyst, and not a good one. So Spamberger has a slight advantage right now. Let's see what happens. But it's not. It's not a very important race, and it's predictive of nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's such a weird era. I don't think the press was ever honest. I don't think there was ever a golden age of honesty. Um,
Never.
if you look back on the people who we were told were like, you know, scrupulously unbiased, they were all biased.
They were all
Uh,
biased. Some were honest about it, and those are because we did have good journalists in this
yeah.
country once. A few and far between. They
Hmm.
were biased as hell, but they were honest about their bias. When I think of Mencken or Charles Krauthammer
Hmm.
or William Safire,
Hmm.
um, those people never hid their political sympathies. Uh, if you want one that wasn't a Republican, Flora Lewis.
Hmm.
Flora Lewis was a rabid Democrat, but her columns were interesting reading, and she was, pretty good in her profession. Uh, but that is not journalism writ large. Those are like the few exceptions.
Hmm.
For the most part, they were all yellow journalists. I mean, I think that we call it yellow journalism because of the Hearst newspapers,
Hmm.
and that is already the 19th century. It's always been shit.
Well, and you have these
Always
quotes
been.
like Sherman. Sherman said that um, he hated newspaper men, and that if he had his own way, he'd shoot them all. But then they'd be sending us dispatches from hell before breakfast, and you know, 1860 something. And
Yeah,
here he is complaining about the complete dishonesty of the press.
yeah. How about Benjamin Franklin?
Yeah, true.
When he proposed that if a journalist questions your integrity in a newspaper falsely, if he writes his name on it, you have the right to confront him any place and punch him in the nose.
Yeah.
And if he does it anonymously in an editorial without attaching his name to it, then you can waylay him in an alley and attack him from behind. He called it the liberty of the cudgel.
Yep.
Because if you have the freedom to attack my reputation, then I have the freedom to bash your head in. And that was Benjamin Franklin. It was already a piece of shit and a dishonorable profession in the 1700s. God, I'm sometimes uh, surprised that some people might try to sell journalism as an honorable profession. First of all, it's not a profession; it's a job. Eh, Much as they try to turn it into a profession with schools of journalism and universities, which do nothing but produce imbeciles. Eh, If anything, if there's anything in common in the journalists that I admire throughout American history, is that none of them studied journalism at any school. They all started as young people who wanted to write with a job in the city desk of some newspaper, often a local newspaper, and they learned to write. Oh my God, writing and reporting. And those are the only ones that were worth anything. I don't see anybody today in any medium that I would give 2 cents for.
I remember um, Hemingway was hired by some magazine like Esquire
Hmm.
to write about the D-Day landing. So he was on one of the ships. He
Yep,
didn't go into shore, but he watched it. And Hemingway was a volunteer ambulance driver in World War One before
yep.
the U.S. joined the war, and he got blown up, and he was left with messed up legs the rest of his life. And so his report on D-Day had this sad above it all quality of here we go again, fighting our useless wars with young men being killed on both sides. And it's like, Ernest, we're fighting Nazis. We're not. It's not World War One. This isn't about you. And anyway, you volunteered for that last shindig because you thought it'd be pretty macho.
And Spain.
Yeah. Then you discovered, holy shit.
Between the two, it was in Madrid.
Yeah, war is awful. Really? You had to actually get blown up before you understood that war is awful. I've never been in a war in my life, and I know that war is awful. So if I were writing about D-Day, if I were on one of the ships watching, I would write only factual stuff about what I saw. I would not talk about how sad it all was and how I was this gray-bearded sage who was dispensing his wisdom to all these poor, stupid admirals and generals who didn't know that war was awful. And I was like, Ernest, this was not your finest hour. But he was probably drunk at the time, so...
I was going to say, you have to make allowances because I believe that from 1936 onwards, he wasn't sober for more than 30 seconds.
No, that's true.
And he was a tortured man for many reasons. I never quite enjoyed his style.
No, me either.
I remember I read A Farewell to Arms. I was maybe 14 years old. And I finished it because even at that tender age, I had the notion that you have to finish the book. If you start it, you finish it. I don't know why. Because some of them, after page number 3, they're shit. Like the satanic verses. Page number 3, it's like, why the fuck did I buy this shit? But Hemingway, after chapter 2, I couldn't stand the book. It was the longest fucking thing I ever read. Not the most pages, just the longest. It was worse than 100 Years of Solitude. Just dragging him on and on and on with the short sentences. It was 11 p.m. Come on, have you ever heard of the literary devices that allow you to connect sentences? No, he didn't. Or he was too drunk to do it. I never liked his books.
I read The Old Man and the Sea, and I didn't like that at all.
Endless, boring as shit.
Well, also this notion that you honor this beautiful animal by killing it. It's like, no. You honor it by letting it go. I don't know. I just this whole notion of grown men discovering that war is hell. I, as a little kid, we used to watch thanks to my dad, we used to watch the Vietnam War during dinner in Venezuela. And, this was back in the days when newsreels of dead soldiers being dragged in and out. And so I knew that war wasn't fun by the time I was 6 years old. It's like I had the guy next door to us volunteered for the Marines when he was 18, and he did 3 tours in Vietnam, and he wasn't fucked up. He used to give us rides on his back in the swimming pool because he was a Marine, and he swam like a porpoise, and you could sit on his back, and nicest guy in the world, and he never talked about the Vietnam War other than the fact that he went there.
Yep.
And as far as I know, he had a fine life. But I didn't want to go. I didn't want to grow up and go to war. I knew that war was awful. I didn't have to experience it firsthand in order to know that it was terrible. And you know, you get the same sort of vibe today. We have people lecturing us about things. Okay, they just discovered another fake Green Beret, and this was a guy he was a mixed martial artist fighter, and he was an ex. The National Guard has a special operations unit, and he was in the National Guard's Green Berets, and he lied about his service, and so he issued one of those non-apology apologies.
And he was elected senator for Connecticut.
Exactly. But it's the same sort of thing. Is that this was a guy who always lectured us on the horrors of war, and it turns out he didn't know the first thing about the horrors of war, and then the Democrats lecturing us constantly about the horrors of everything, and not knowing the first thing about it, and yet this is the downfall of the Democratic Party, is this constant, lecturing and finger wagging and criticism and raw hatred, just hatred of Trump supporters. Like you said, you don't use the term MAGA to describe yourself. I don't either. I don't know very many Trump supporters who say, I'm MAGA. It's the other side that calls us MAGA. And
well, no. The conservative ink assholes, the MAGA tards, do that all the time.
They do that?
Yeah, they do that all the time. They even have, they give themselves names in Twitter and all that, just MAGA Joe, MAGA Jane, and that kind of shit. I avoid it like the fucking plague. And they call themselves MAGA, but those people are not about Trump. They're about their own prejudices.
Well, it's the weirdest thing because we've seen evidence over and over. I think my favorite thing I ever saw, it was an Alex Jones clip. It was before he went to trial and everything, but it was just a news clip, and it was a line of Trump supporters lining up before the 2016 election, and there was a Mexican woman with a big sign talking about "You're all racists," and she was demanding to know how all these people supported this racist. And there was a kid who was too young to vote, and he said, "Lady, look around you. I'm the only white guy here." And it was true. There were black people, there were Indian people, there were Asian people, there were Hispanic people. He was the only white guy there. And everybody just they just exploded in laughter. And this poor idiot just kind of like sat there like an android. She didn't know what to say. The gears were twirling. Yep. But it was really fascinating because he was the only white guy there. And
I remember I went to a few Trump rallies. The last one, I think it was 18. It was the most diverse crowd that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
On any event of whatever nature.
Yeah.
Concerts, political rallies, take what you will, boxing matches. I've never seen such a diverse crowd as I saw in Trump rallies. And the other thing that called my attention was their behavior.
Mm-hmm.
They were orderly. They were patient with each other. It was kind of like a family outing.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever it is, it's a phenomenon that I hope it finds continuation. But I think it's something that only responds to Trump. That there
Although
is no
that
Trumpism without him.
although that's true, okay, someone like JD Vance. JD Vance is a brilliant, brilliant man, and JD Vance can destroy anybody in a debate. And I think JD Vance, if he ran, would be elected, and he would be a great president. But yeah, Trump is utterly unique. There won't be another Trump until his 7-foot tall son decides to run for president.
Maybe. Maybe. He does have certain qualities, but there is something, you see, there is something about Trump that not even his children. It, we've discussed this before. He's growing up in Queens
Mm-hmm.
with the middle income families in his father's apartments that he had to go and collect rent from. With the construction workers and his interaction with them and his lunches with them, with his attending a neighborhood school, all of that helped make him what he is today.
Also, the era he grew up.
And the era he grew up in the 60s and 70s, it was a different fucking planet. It was a different fucking planet. I think he went to Q Forest in 64.
Yeah, he was declared 4F in 64, so he was 18 years old in
As
60.
a year he graduated from Q Forest. Yeah. I know because I went in 75. So, but it was an entirely different planet. And I bet you 10 to 1 that he would go to there was a burger place on Queens Boulevard near the school where that I got to see, and that of course it's been long gone, long since gone. You know those burger places with the girls bringing you the burger to the car on um,
Roller skates.
and roller skates.
Yeah.
Uh, in California, they had them all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
In New York, not that many, but this one on Queens Boulevard for sure. I used to go there at least 3, 4 times a week. Um, and the eclectic mix,
Mm-hmm.
because across the street from that there was the Greek diner, and when I say Greek diner, I mean Greek diner. It was fucking Greeks. It it wasn't just a diner with Greek decoration. The cooks were Greek, the owner was Greek, the waitresses were all Greek gals. Eh, these these ethnic things in New York were very, and of course, right next to Continental Avenue, there was the Jewish deli. Eh, and he grew up with all of that, and you can tell every time he opens his mouth, and that is the kind of experience uh, that that cannot be reproduced today. There won't be another one. Not even his son. Gonzalo says Sonic. They're still around. No, it wasn't Sonic. It was long before Sonic was dreamed up.
Yeah, there won't be another Trump, but there'll be somebody different, like JD Vance. JD Vance, I think there have been more memes made about JD Vance than any other politician that I've ever seen. Trump has political cartoons made about him, but JD Vance has memes. And
Oh, yeah.
I saw an AI video, and it was JD Vance dancing, and they'd given him an afro, and he had the round baby face and the beard, and he was wearing like a lime green suit with like a yellow shirt and a red tie, and he was dancing, and it was some kind of 1970s funk. So JD Vance is very smartly, whatever meme he sees about himself, he retweets. And he's becoming part of the culture in a way that is different from Trump, but he's creating his own niche. And I think he won't be compared to Trump. He will be his own person. And I do, to be perfectly honest, I prefer Trump, but I'm perfectly happy with JD Vance, especially since he is memeable, and that's always a good thing. Zoran Mamdani is not memeable because he's already a parody, and he has
He is a
nothing.
meme.
He has nothing going for him. JD Vance, like I saw a meme, and it was a tunnel, and it was this army of JD Vances coming out of the tunnel wearing suits with baby faces and beards, and the meme didn't make sense, but it was a striking visual. There was
Yeah.
nothing said about it, and so
Let's face it, there is a part of the American psyche that responds to his story.
yeah,
You know,
exactly,
it's like Lincoln being born in a log cabin,
yeah.
which is probably a lie, but it doesn't matter. It works. The idea of his being raised in poverty by a grandmother and a drug addict mother in Appalachia and overcoming all of the difficulties to become a graduate of elite universities and then helping clean up his mother and oh god, the story is powerful for a lot of
Mhm.
people. I find it a little kish to tell you the truth, but I can understand why people are drawn to it.
Well, he's the real thing. He's and the fact that he's a brilliant. I mean, his brain it's shocking the way his brain works because he can't be rendered speechless, and whatever trap is laid out for him by whatever idiot interviewer or whomever, some kind of opponent, he just butchers them, and that's an astonishing skill to have.
Yeah.
And as you
Well,
pointed out,
all you need to do is listen to the question,
yeah, true.
which a lot of people don't do.
No,
So
but
he's
see,
already at an advantage. Yep.
this is why Trump appears with Vance a lot. Vance is sitting in the room and is speaking because,
He's parading him.
yeah,
He's parading him in theater. They used to call it that. He's showing him off. He's grooming him for the position. And
well, it's interesting. We're now
my
seeing
work.
we're now seeing Zelensky appear in suits when he goes and meets NATO and everything.
Yes.
So that's an important change. Trump Trump is openly criticizing Putin as being an evil bullshitter who's changed, and that's
Do you have any idea how the MAGA tards are going to scream now? Because
of course.
Ukraine is about to get the largest fucking package they ever dreamt of in their wettest dream.
Mm,
Mhm. Both defensive and, I underscore, offensive weapons.
long range offensive weapons.
Yes. And Trump is making the Europeans pay for a shitload of that just after they got him to agree to a 5% GDP in defense spending. So it's like every step follows logically the previous one. So he gets Europe to agree to increase their defense spending. Then he tosses. putting to the curb that I thought he was going to do always.
Mhm.
And he makes Europe pay for the newest big fucking package. He is going to do like we discussed here months ago, uh, porcupine Ukraine.
Mhm.
Putin is not going to be able to sink his teeth there.
Well, the Ukrainians just destroyed the MiG factory a couple of nights ago. It's gone. No more MiGs or MiG spare parts.
No more strategic fleet either.
Exactly. Yeah.
Uh,
Uh, Apparently, the Russians are going to scrap their stupid, useless aircraft carrier. It's. I saw a picture of it sitting in the dock, and it's completely rusted from end to end.
yeah, I mean, it's been out of commission. Uh, I mean, not officially, but in practice, for what is it now, 15 years?
Yeah. They sent it out to Syria once, and of course, it didn't do anything.
It
Then
broke down.
they tried to send it to Syria a second time, and they had to turn around and come back. Apparently, this thing I always knew it was accompanied by 5 tugboats. Apparently, the tugboats are actually pulling it. Apparently, this
Yeah,
thing cannot operate under its own power.
no. And it hasn't been able to do so since 2009,
Yeah.
which was the second time that it broke down. And the Russians decided not to change the engine, which was kaput, because they didn't have the budget to do it, even back then. And the damn thing, I mean, was nothing but black smoke billowing out of it, and it's totally fucking useless. So now they're gonna scrap it. Should have done it 20 years ago. And that is Russia's only aircraft carrier.
Yeah.
In name only, mind you, because as you and I discussed, if the aircraft are carrying bombs, they cannot gas up. If they gas up, they cannot carry bombs because the goddamn thing is too short and there is no catapult. Ugh. So they still have a factory that makes the Shaheen drones, the Iranian drones that are made in Russia too. I understand that the Iranians cannot make them right now. Uh, Unfortunately, something happened. Somebody did something, and the Shaheen factory went poof
Mm-hmm.
in the middle of Israeli bombardments to add to the mystery. And that's it. The Russians are so fucking cooked. It's not even funny anymore. I cannot make fun of them because it's too easy. Marco Rubio was up the other day saying that according to our information, the Russians lost 100,000 dead since January. Not
Mm-hmm.
wounded, he said. Dead. No shit, Sherlock.
Yeah. They finally reached the casualty number of 1 million.
No, they passed it some
Yeah.
time ago, according to what I read. But definitely nobody, and not the casualty rate, the deaths.
Mm-hmm.
The casualty rate is much higher than that. They're sending the retirees to the front.
Well, that's the thing. I read that the mean age, the average age of a Russian frontline soldier is
57.
49 years old.
Yeah, I read higher, but I'll take yours. It doesn't matter because a mean of 49 means that there are a lot of 60-year-olds there.
There's 80-year-olds.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
it's unbelievable. And their economy shot. And now the oligarchs are dropping like fucking flies after an insecticide raid.
That's what I never understood about the oligarchs. they've seen, it's like the Chinese. The Chinese, every now and then, they take some conglomerate captain of industry out and take him behind the building and put a bullet in his head for corruption.
Yep.
They've all seen this happen. The oligarchs have seen other oligarchs take their terminal flight out the window, and they don't flee themselves. That one of them was just captured. He was on his plane trying to head to Switzerland or something.
He was trying to flee.
Yeah.
Fleeing is one thing. Doing it successfully is another.
True.
Those who were traveling and decided not to return are safely ensconced in Paris and London. There's a whole bunch of them. Of course, between the West taking their yachts and their bank accounts and Putin taking their companies, they're approaching the stage of former oligarchs.
Mm-hmm.
The ones in Russia, the guy they captured as he was trying to leave, he was the head of the largest gas company in Russia, and it was nationalized. All communist habits die hard, I guess. And Putin is desperate to finance the war, and he's run out of money. So now what's left is nationalized industry, nationalized mining companies, and try to take over. But who is he going to export to? China? The Chinese fucking coming and fucking again going.
It's really fascinating. If you look at Hollywood, you go back to the late 1980s, all the movies having to do with the wealthy taking over the world and having to be fought with secret agents, it was Japan. Japan was going to dominate the world.
Oh, that was in the 70s and 80s.
Yep.
The Japanese are old, and they were buying the U.S.
Yep, they're buying the U.S. Then after Japan, it started with China. And China sort of continued up until recently. But then Russia came in, and then everything was Russian. The Russian mafia, the Russians, every science fiction movie, the Russians were always the ones who saved us from the aliens because of their advanced technology. And then the Chinese saved us from the aliens because they were just the world's leaders. And we were just waiting to be told what we were waiting for our marching orders to come from China.
Yep.
So it's really fascinating that all these countries that were all predicted by Hollywood to take over the world. Okay, Japan is chugging along with its national debt of 265% of GDP.
Of GDP. Yeah, the U.S. is about 100, depending on who you listen to, 98 to 117%, and we're broke. I'll tell you, broke. Japan is 260%. Give me a fucking break.
And there isn't a single person on earth who isn't willing to do business with the Japanese based on the national debt.
No, not at all. And by the way, most industrialized nations, it's anywhere from 140 to 180. You know which countries have a very low debt to GDP ratio?
Russia is at 14%.
Russia, China, Congo, Mozambique. I mean, all of those great countries that we want to emulate by lowering our debt to GDP ratio to next to nothing. I mean, none of these fucking imbeciles ever heard the word leverage. Obviously. But wishful thinking to me, yeah. Wishful thinking, wishful nightmare. It's that would get us into another one. But speaking of uh, 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 warp speed, you know that I have to say that I apologize for not seeing this coming. But I know that everybody's hurting because we're broke. The U.S. filed for bankruptcy. Uh, Unemployment is now 30%. The dollar is worthless. Worthless, I tell you. I hope you had saved in rupees. Uh, wasn't the American economy scheduled to crack under the pressure of Trump's tariffs by now?
Oh yeah, we were going to be dead in the water. We were going to be
Yeah,
worse than Congo.
like the tens of thousands of American troops dead in the war with Iran.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we didn't go bankrupt. As a matter of fact, the U.S. economy is in better shape than it has been in 2 decades.
Well, we have a federal surplus now
Well, for 1 month, let's
for
not
1 month.
call it anticipated, but the fact that it existed, even if for a month, for the first time, the last time was 2005 that we had a month with surplus. I believe that by next year is going to be the whole year with a surplus. Um, People underestimate the effect of the cuts in the big beautiful bill, the effect of the revenues from the tariffs, and most of all, they underestimate the increase in revenues through the growth of the economy. That is the biggest one, and they failed to see it. Now we're going to be the number one supplier of gas to Germany. Hmm, amazing, huh?
Yeah, there's a there used to be an old ad at the back of like comic books, and it said something like, "They laughed when I sat down at the piano," and it was a course, a male course you could take to learn how to be a pianist.
Yeah.
And so they laughed when Trump told them, "You're not being very smart, letting Russia provide your gas and oil."
Yep.
And
Now we're going to, but again, I don't know if every American is conscious of what that is going to do to our balance of trade.
well, okay, look, the Europeans are going to buy shitloads of weapons that currently don't exist that will have to be built by Americans. So we're going to have a lot of new jobs as we build weapons for Ukraine that will first be bought by the Europeans. And then the Europeans will also want to stock up themselves because they're all coming to the conclusion that the Russians may actually try, and as a last-ditch effort to keep Putin in power, they may actually try to launch a little war with NATO. And
Yeah,
you know,
which is going to last all of 48 hours.
48 hours because the Russians have nothing left. I mean, they don't even have T-62 tanks left.
No.
Oh, and I want to make a point. I saw a video. Ukrainians say that the American M1 Abrams tank is useless. All right, couple of points. We gave them the export version, which can't compare to the domestic version. B, that tank was designed for tank-to-tank battle. It wasn't designed to deal with drones. All we need to do to make our tanks and Ukrainian tanks impervious to drones is to apply what's called an active protection system. It could consist of nothing more than the equivalent of 12-gauge shotguns along the outside of the tank. And the Israelis developed an active protection system that's completely automated. And this thing can stop tank shells and blow up tank shells that are as close as 6 feet to the Israeli tank and blow it up without harming the Israeli tank. So we gave the Ukrainians tanks during a period that drone warfare was evolving. The Palestinians had drones. Hezbollah had drones. Why didn't the Israeli tanks become obsolete the way they claim the American tanks are now obsolete?
It's bullshit.
Yeah.
Number one, the Israeli tanks are quite different.
Yes.
They were designed for a different purpose. They're much heavier. They could not possibly be used in the areas where the Abrams is used.
No.
Number two, if you recall, before we gave the Abrams, we had to work on them to get all of the uranium
armor
out, because we don't give it to anybody.
Yep.
Except a couple of very, very close allies. And there is a reason we don't give it to anybody, because we don't want anybody to copy what the fuck we're doing there, because that shit alone would make it impervious to the drone bullshit. So they do have a lesser version, not to mention the fact that the Abrams that we gave Ukraine were decommissioned from the Marine Corps in 1994. This is ancient shit without armor. And yet, it served its purpose rather well. Except there are no tank battles in there, because the Russians could never advance with their tanks. So, there you go. They probably need demining machines more than they do tanks.
What did we give? Okay, we gave the Ukrainians something like 30 Abrams, or was it even less?
Yeah. No, it was about 30.
It was about 30. The title of this video claimed that they were all destroyed. They're not all destroyed.
No, there were 4 destroyed, or
something
5.
like that. Over a period of years.
Yes, at least 2 years.
Yeah. So again, we're back to the press lying its ass off.
Yes.
Just to make the United States look bad.
And by the way, they lost 5 Abrams. The Russians lost every fucking tank in their stock.
Yeah, like
down
10,000.
to the ones in museums.
Literally 10,000 tanks are gone.
Yes. And many of them were taken by, Abrams.
Yeah.
So, people are, I think they do it on purpose. I think it's propaganda. I don't believe that anybody taking a dispassionate look at this could see anything other than the total uselessness of Russian hardware. I think that everybody and their fucking mothers around the world is looking at whatever weapons they ever bought from Russia and trying to figure out how to replace them with something
the only people who still buy Russian weapons are like Africans who use tanks against, civilians. So,
Yeah. In Sudan, yeah. They use tanks in flat lands against tribesmen on foot.
Mm-hmm.
So no, in any other country, South Americans and all that jazz that were buying, Venezuela has nothing but Russian equipment because nobody else would sell them anything, and it's a good thing they're not going to be at war with anybody because they would have to stick it up their ass.
Well,
They
Venezuela,
use whatever military equipment for civilian protests.
Venezuela is one of the few modern countries that's never actually fought a war. So they can parade all they want. They have no military experience
Yeah, like,
whatsoever. They were
I'm
threatening.
still cracking up. What was it? About a year ago, they were going to invade the Essequibo, and they
Yeah,
were picking war with Guyana.
yeah,
Oh my God!
yeah.
I hope one of these days they're drunk enough to try it.
Well, it's okay. Venezuela. It's another perfect. They're still limping along. First, they had what's his name, the fucker who died of colon
Chav-
cancer.
Chavez.
First, they had Chavez. Now they have Guzman. No, that's not his
No,
name.
Maduro.
Maduro. Maduro. And they have no food. My brother showed me a picture. Um, it was in this place we used to go shopping called Cabinas. And it was these women sitting in their living room with big smiles. They're sitting up to their waist in a mixture of oil and sewage. And it
Yeah.
was like because everything had popped. And it was just like, you're putting up with it. You're putting up with it.
Well, they tried, but the naivete, the sheer which I can only attribute to years of low protein,
Yeah, yeah.
that is affecting the ability to think of just about everybody there. Um, they thought, first of all, they went to elections, and they fought elections fiercely against Maduro. Right, like you have a fucking chance, you moron. And then it was Maduro declared victory. I won. I got 70% of the vote. You got 30. Bye. Well, where are the acts? He has to show the acts. Like he cannot make whatever acts he wants to make. You idiot. There is this magical thinking that I can force him to show me the proof that he won't have it. No, that he writes it in 2 seconds and it's done. They try to make popular protests against Maduro. Right. Unarmed people singing slogans in front of an army of torturers and murderers. That always worked.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember a friend of mine who's in the Venezuelan opposition said, "You guys absolutely fucking crazy. Stop doing this. You're going to have the blood of thousands in your hand if you don't send them home now. You don't do this unless you have the military support to carry it through. You don't put disarmed people on the street as target practice for the regime. Now, if you have 30% of the army backing you, then you might give it a try.
Well,
But as it is, suicide.
the problem is okay. Venezuela has the National Guard, which are basically like the Basij in
Yes.
Iran. Then they have the army, and those two fighting forces are about as well fed and well paid as Venezuelans can be.
Oh, and they have their own rackets.
Exactly. That's
And
exactly
the army has access to all the revenues from oil. And,
when when
and all of the generals have a penthouses in Miami.
when we lived in Venezuela, we did our shopping at the National Guard commissary because smugglers from the Netherlands Antilles would bring in things like jeans and Planters peanut butter, and if they had 20 boats, they would leave one full boat for the National Guard,
Right.
and the National Guard would look away from the 19 other boats.
Yeah, these assholes were working out of Aruba.
That's it too. That's it too.
Yeah.
And then the National Guard would put that all in the commissary, and the Americans would go there and buy it, and it would be at inflated prices, of course, but
Yep.
it would be the only way you could get your hands on Levi's jeans and whatever. And
Same thing the Cubans do in the dollar stores
yep,
for foreigners only.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have fucking imbeciles like Franklin, whatever the fuck, ah, Pilgrim's Purse.
Mm-hmm.
Um, his father was Billy. Oh God, evangelist,
Mm-hmm.
moron, and he sends shiploads of aid to the people of Cuba, and some of the stuff ends up in the tourist stores, dollar tourist stores that the Cubans have no access to, or Graham, thank you, Deb, and some stuff ends up, say, if it is medicine, you're gonna find it in the pharmacies in Veracruz, in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
And you go buy an aspirin in Veracruz, and the box says, "From the people of the U.S. to the people of Cuba."
Mm-hmm.
And the only people who get anything out of these are the generals.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing in Venezuela.
Mm-hmm.
There's absolutely nothing people can buy in Venezuela that doesn't fill the pockets of Maduro's minions,
Mm-hmm.
starting with the army. And that's
Mm-hmm.
why they don't topple him,
Mm-hmm.
because he's the the guarantee that income keeps coming. The same thing in Russia.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Putin is beginning to be in trouble because the oligarchs are beginning to see that there's no money coming back. They'll be dead before money comes back.
Also, the Russians have draftees and contract soldiers. They haven't paid their contract soldiers in over a year.
Yep.
So those are the guys who are going to turn against the government. And the contract soldiers tend to be marginally more competent than the draftees. So it's going to be really interesting. The
In the
Ukrainians
next
are,
few months,
pardon me,
we're going to see something there.
it appears that that's likely. What a nitwit. What a nitwit. But see, all these people are dictators are always nitwits.
Because you cannot surround yourself with yes men.
No.
Eh, and you cannot create the conditions so that nobody has the balls to tell you the truth.
Yep.
Putin is a one person on this planet who doesn't have the foggiest fucking idea of what's going on in Ukraine. Mm.
Well, never
After he
forget.
purged the army, what was it, 3 times in 3 years?
Yeah.
Or four?
4.
Now, nobody wants to bring him bad news, so they paint him a rosy picture of how they're winning, and all of his intelligence and all of his information and his generals and the GRU and everybody tells him it's peachy
Mm-hmm.
and Zelensky is about to fall. And he thinks so, he believes that.
I'll never forget during the Trump campaign season of 24, they released this clip, and it was a room, and they were responding in real time to a speech that Biden was giving. And it was a table, and several people were around. One of them was Tulsi Gabbard. And they would listen to something that Biden would say, and then each of them would just comment on it. And if Trump liked it, he would put it into his own words and dictate to the secretary sitting next to him, and then she would type it all up and then
Yep.
tweet it. And what was interesting was that nobody raised their hand. You had Tulsi Gabbard, who, remember, called Trump, a fascist and said he was going to start a war and all of that. And there was no tension between them. It's Trump isn't.
Trump has one of the most eclectic cabinets anywhere in the world.
It's true, and he's not afraid of dissenting opinions. And he's also not afraid of being made out. Okay, remember when they were saying Trump wasn't convinced that the GBU 57 would destroy the Iranian nuclear
Mhm.
program? Trump has always said, I'm a businessman. I don't know anything about the military.
He
So
must have
this,
been asking questions of everybody all the time.
well, this is the thing. And the notion that he would hold up the whole operation because he personally wasn't convinced, that was disinformation put out to lull the Iranians into thinking we weren't going to bomb their nuclear facilities. And the press always tells us that Trump has really thin skin, and it's exactly the opposite. Trump has the thickest skin of any president we've ever had. Um,
He has people in his cabinet that disparaged him for years.
J.D. Vance disparaged him,
And how?
and how?
And how? So you have J.D. Vance, you have uh, um,
Tulsi Gabbard,
Tulsi Gabbard, you have RFK Jr. These are all people who
Marco
lambast
Rubio, Marco Rubio.
Marco Rubio in the campaign was a beautiful thing to see. Uh, and frankly, little Marco uh, was on the receiving end of Trump's most venomous put downs. Uh, but you have to believe at the end of the day that these people, still with diverging opinions, still diverse in their positions, have to love America and really want to make a go of this.
Well, regardless of
And Trump is a leader, a board leader who can put all of them together and take all of the most contradictory information from them all, and then makes his decision, and they better follow it.
regardless of what we think about Tulsi Gabbard as an individual, do you think she would have any qualms about telling Trump what she really thinks?
No,
Exactly.
actually, I know for a fact no.
Yeah.
And Marco Rubio, who as a senator I thought he was a lightweight and a moron, is proven to be one of the best uh, secretaries of state we've had in a long time.
Well, see, this is the interesting thing. There's certain type of people that once they're given these massive responsibilities, they rise to the occasion in a
Yeah,
way that you never thought was going to happen. And
I thought he was a lightweight. He's
yeah,
not. He
yeah,
rose to the occasion, literally.
yeah.
And if I were Maduro or Diaz Canel or Ortega, I'd be making sure that my villa in France is ready to receive me.
Well, the State Department spokesman is Tammy Bruce, and
Yes.
Tammy Bruce is an astonishingly formidable presence. She she does something that's really fascinating. She stands beside her
The podium, the
her
lectern.
podium. She stands beside the podium with one hand on it and calls on people because she doesn't want to be behind the podium.
Mhm.
She wants to be exposed.
It's a technique, you know.
Exactly. And she's another one who's just like chopped through people like sides.
Yes.
And it's really fascinating. You see that redheaded idiot, the circle back White House spokeswoman,
Certainly.
Saki.
Saki.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she was given her own show, and it was a catastrophe. She lost
Of
half
course.
her viewers on the second night,
But
and
she can't talk herself out of a sandwich. It's she's a moron. She was always a moron. She was a moron when she was John Kerry's spokesperson at the State Department.
mm,
A recalcitrant moron. It was the dynamic duo of Jen Psaki and the puke girl, Marie Barth.
Yeah, Bart.
Not Harf, Barth.
Mm.
Uh, those two were two of the most idiotic characters on the planet, and they kept rising in the democratic universe because being an idiot gives you access. By the way, we're past the time.
Oh, we are.
Past the time. So let me just make my plea, folks. The thing in Odyssey is working. You have to use, by the way, a debit card because it will not work with credit cards. It will only work with debit cards. And if you go to the website, it's going to say that dollars can only be accepted with payments with debit cards. So you have to have your wallet, not difficult to set up. And then you can make your payment directly to the channel with your debit card, and that will work. If you use a credit card, it will not work. If you want to use PayPal, it will not work. It will only work with debit cards. Thank you very much. It says so there. And if you have any problem, well, we always have uh, the possibility of receiving your support as a subscription in X to at the brother lie or the tried and true quadverum.com/support us. So if you want to support us, we very much appreciate it. And frankly, we need it. And hopefully, we'll have better news from Odyssey down the road, but this is what we have now. And having said that, I haven't said it today. I'm Israel High, motherfuckers. You, Tucker Carlson, can go fuck yourself. Uh, I hope Israel resumes pretty soon its root canal work in Gaza, Iran, and um, Yemen. Um, Netanyahu the other day was saying how they cut off the head of Hezbollah and Lebanon fell out of the orbit. And then, because they were so dependent on Hezbollah, Assad dropped. And because they were so dependent on Assad and Hezbollah, the mullahs became exposed. And this domino thing is going on. And hopefully, in about 45 days now, we're going to see the last chapter to that drama. Uh, if I were the mullahs, I'd be making sure that those caves out in the middle of the mountains are ready to receive them because they're not going to last in Tehran much more. Um, that's it for me. Tomorrow we have quad meet where people can come in on camera and we have open discussions. Um, you're all more than welcome to attend. And Tuesday, of course, the VIP club, the VIP room, and we're still doing the VIP room for members. Um, those who figure out how to do it can become new members. The old ones have a little reprieve. And Wednesday, I'm going to have a space for the subscribers at the Brother Lie that anybody can join and anybody can speak. So, with that, thank you so very, very much, Thomas. As usual, I enjoyed it very much. And do you have a last word?
Legerity.
Legerity. Ah, nice. Legerity, people. to go look for it. Live long and prosper, my friend, and I'll see you next week.